So, chapter 14, the second half here. The next morning, another thunderstorm tumbles the leaves on the maple trees and showers rain on the new roses. I'm eating my breakfast, oatmeal again, steaming in its foilware dish, when I hear the port announce, Cacheres, your leisure activity, hiking, has been canceled for the day due to inclement weather. Please report to second school for extra study hours instead. No hiking, which means no Kai. The walk to the air train is a wet one, and muggy. The rain adds to the water in the air, trapping the humidity. My coppery hair begins to tangle and curl as it does sometimes in weather like this. I look up at the sky but only see the mass of clouds, no break anywhere. No one else is on my air train. Not Em, not Xander, not Kai. They probably caught other trains, or are still getting ready. But I have a sense of something missed, something missing, someone missing. Maybe it's me. Once I'm at school, I go upstairs to the research library, where there are several ports. I want to find out about Dylan Thomas and Alfred Lord Tennyson, and if they have any poems that did make the selection. I don't think they did, but I have to make sure. Why is she wondering about those two authors? Because of the poems? Which poems? Mm-hmm. The ones her grandfather gave her, right? My fingers hover over the screen on the porch as I hesitate. The fastest way to find out would be to type in their names, but then there would be a record of someone searching for them, and the search could be traced back to me. It's much safer to go through the list of poets in the 100 Poems database instead. If I'm looking through poet after poet after poet, that will seem more like an assignment for class and less like a search for something specific. It takes a long time to go through each name, but I finally get to the T's. I find one poem by Tennyson, and I want to read it, but I don't have time. There is no Thomas. There is a Thoreau. I touch that name. One poem of his, The Moon, has been saved. I wonder if he wrote anything else. If he did, it's gone now. So, Henry Thoreau, have you heard of him? He's a pretty well-known author. You might have heard of Walden. He built a cabin out in the middle of the woods and just tried to survive on the land itself. Very, very well-known author. So now in this book, when she is searching through the different authors, all that's been kept of him from him is one poem. And she kind of says, I wonder if he wrote anything else. Well, from our point in our society, we can know that yes, he wrote a lot of other things, but only one poem was deemed for the 100 poems from him.
Like that.
Why do they only have 100 of them?
It's weird, isn't it?
It's so that people don't give any of them.
Well, if you think about, when she says, I see why they didn't keep this poem, when she's talking about rage, she says it's because it tells people to fight. So it gives you the idea that none of the things that they have kept give off that same type of feel.
Against this.
Exactly.
I don't like it.
Why did grandfather give me those poems? Did he want me to find some meaning in them? Does he want me to not go gentle? What does that even mean? Am I supposed to fight against authority? I might as well ask if he wants me to commit suicide, because that's what it would be. I wouldn't actually die, but if I tried to break the rules, they'd take away everything I value. A match, a family of my own, a good vocation. I would have nothing. I don't think grandfather would want that for me. I can't figure it out. I've thought and thought about it and turned the words over in my head. I wish I could see the words again on paper and puzzle it out. For some reason, I feel like everything would be different if I could see them outside of myself, not only in my mind. I've realized one thing, though. Even though I've done the right thing, burned the words and tried to forget them, it doesn't work. These words won't go away. I'm relieved the minute I see Em sitting in the meal hall. She practically glows. And when she sees me, she lifts her arm to wave. The banquet went well then. She didn't panic. She made it through. She isn't dead. I hurry through the line, sliding into the seat next to her. So, I ask, even though I already know the answer, how was the banquet? Her radiance shines on everyone in the room. Everyone at our table smiles. It was perfect. It's not Lon, then, I say, making a feeble joke. Lon was matched months ago. Em laughs. No, his name is Dalen. He's from Acadia Province. Acadia is one of the more heavily forested provinces to the east. miles away from our rolling hills and rivered valleys here in Oria. They have stone in Arcadia, and sea, things we don't have much of here. And I lean forward. So do the rest of our friends gathered at the table, all of us eager for details about the boy Em will marry. When he stood up, I thought, he can't be for me. He's tall, and he smiled at me right through the screen. He didn't even look a little bit nervous. So he's handsome? Of course, Em smiles. And he didn't seem too disappointed in me either, thank goodness. How could he be? Em shines so radiantly today in her drab brown plainclothes that I imagine she was impossible to look away from last night in her yellow dress. So, he's handsome, but what exactly does he look like? I'm embarrassed to hear a hint of jealousy in my voice, plain and clear. No one gathered around me to find out what Xander was like. There was no mystery because they already knew. Em is kind enough to ignore it. Actually, a little like Xander. She begins and then she breaks off. I follow her gaze to where Xander stands a few feet away from us, holding his foilware on a tray and looking stricken. Did he hear the jealousy in my voice when Em described her match? What's wrong with me? I try to cover it up. We're talking about Em's match. He looks like you. Xander recovers quickly. So he's unbelievably handsome? He sits down next to me, but doesn't look in my direction. I'm embarrassed. He definitely heard me. Of course, Em laughs. I don't know why I was so worried. She blushes a little, probably remembering the night in the music hall, and looks at Xander. It all turned out perfectly, the way you said it would. I wish they still let you print out a picture right away, I say. I want to see what he looks like. Em describes her match and tells us facts about Dalen that she learned from her microcard, but I'm too distracted to hear much. I worry that I've hurt Xander, and I want him to look at me or take my hand, but he does neither of those things. Em grabs my arm on our way out of the meal hall. Thank you so much for letting me borrow the compact. I think it helped to have something to hold on to, you know? I nod, agreeing. Kai gave it back to you this morning, didn't he? No. My heart drops. Where's my compact? Why doesn't Em have it? He didn't? Em's face pales. No, I say. Why does he have it? I saw him on the air train after the match banquet. He was coming home late from work. I wanted you to have the compact back as soon as possible. Em takes a deep breath. I knew you'd see Kai at hiking before you'd see me here, and I couldn't bring it straight back to your house because I worried I'd be late for curfew. Hiking was canceled this morning because of the weather. It was? Hiking is the one summer leisure activity that absolutely can't be done in inclement weather. Even swimming can be done in the indoor pool. Em looks sick. I should have realized that, but why didn't he find it some way to get it to you? He knew how important it was. I made sure to tell him. Good question. But I don't want this to ruin Em's big moment. I don't want her to worry. I'm sure he gave it to Ada to give to my mother or father, I say, trying to sound lighthearted, or he'll give it to me tomorrow at hiking. Don't worry, Xander says, looking directly at me now. He reaches out with his words to cross the small divides that keep coming between us. You can trust Kai.